Hello everybody, and welcome to Theology 101. Hebrews chapter 11 is filled with different Old Testament characters who overcame obstacles and endured trials because of their faith in God. However, despite their faith, we have seen many of their flaws. Abraham doubted God and lied about Sarah. Moses was a murderer and couldn't enter the promised land. Rahab lived a life as a prostitute. Samson broke almost every commandment in the Bible. And Jephthah made a dumb vow and actually followed through with it by sacrificing his daughter. So we can come away from Hebrews chapter 11 feeling a little bit unsatisfied. This is the best we got? So the author concludes this section by introducing the one person who has no flaws, Jesus Christ. Look at the author's final encouragement. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. I want you to notice the phrase "so great" in verse 1. The word is the first word in the sentence in Greek. It is placed there for emphasis to show us that Christians have many witnesses today. Now, what does the word witnesses mean? There are two ideas with a witness. It can refer to a person who has seen or heard something and testifies about it. Or it can refer to people watching a sports event in the stadium. The author uses a metaphor of a race to show us that he is referring to the second type of witness. So Christians should be encouraged to run their race of faith because of all the people who have already ran their race and are cheering from the stands for us. But the author adds that for us to run our race well, there's a certain way we need to run our race. Look at the first command. Let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely. This command has to do with intensity. During this time, people would run races completely naked. They would take off their long robes during a race because they didn't want anything to hinder them. Even though people don't run naked in the Olympics anymore, you do see them strip off excess weight and slim down as much as possible. Why? To make sure that nothing gets in the way of their intended goal. That is a picture of intensity. The word weight has the idea of hindrance. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. The point is that a weight is anything or anybody that gets in the way of your race of faith. The author also adds to lay aside sin. You see, sometimes a weight might not be a sin in and of itself, but it can become a sin if we let it entangle us. There's nothing wrong with wearing a long robe, but if that robe entangles you while you run, you better be willing to take it off if you want to run well. Let's look at the second command. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. This is the idea of endurance. As you run towards your goal with focused intensity, what do you do when you start to get tired? How do you keep running? Look at what the author adds. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Running with endurance doesn't just mean to follow a way of life or some principles. It means to follow a person. This is what the word perfecter means. It is used to refer to a pace setter for a race. This person will be running in the front of a crowd, and every person will take his or her cues from this runner. When he speeds up, the rest speeds up. When he slows down, the rest slows down. So the way to run with endurance is to run with your eyes locked on Jesus. It is to run the same way that Jesus ran. And if you want to know how Jesus ran his race of faith, look at what the author says. Who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. The greatest expression of faith is seen when Jesus faced the cross. He saw the shame he would have to endure. He thought of the pain he would have to experience. And instead of giving up and doing what was comfortable, he endured the cross so that he will reach his goal set before him, which was to sit as king in heaven. Jesus is both the first to complete the race of faith with perfect endurance and the one who makes it possible for us to run with endurance. Jesus doesn't just command us to run, he shows us how to run. To run with endurance means to stay near to Jesus and to follow his pace. I see a clear picture of this with the way my sons interacted with my wife when they were babies. I saw how much they trusted her, and it wasn't based on a list of facts they could repeat. At the time, they didn't even know her name, but I know they trusted her because they stuck to her like glue. When she walked away, they will panic and scream. When she came near to them, they started to relax. Interestingly, they never cried when I walked away. If anything, when they saw me, they started to cry. Now, I know why Jesus said that we are to have faith like a child. Faith does not just know a lot of facts about God. Faith looks to Jesus like the eyes of a child looks for his mother. You stay close to him and you don't let him out of your sight. Now there is something that will happen for you if you keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. Keep in mind the context. The Christians during this time were tempted to walk away from the Christian faith because they were being persecuted. The author of Hebrews is saying that they need to look at how Jesus endured hostility so that they will not give up on their race. When we realize how much Jesus endured, he will motivate us to keep running even when we face difficulties in our lives. Listen, the Christian life is not just about completing one leap of faith, but it is to run every day without losing hope. A runner finishes a race by thinking of what waits at the finish line. Whether it's a gold medal or some trophy, a runner doesn't quit because he or she thinks about what is waiting for them at the end of the race. The author says that Christians can keep running by keeping their eyes on Jesus because he is the one who waits for us at the end of our race. There was a documentary on a high school runner named Caleb Montgomery. Caleb was a fantastic runner who set records, who won state titles, and ran in national races. But what made Kayla unique was not how great of a runner she is. It was what she had to overcome to run. Kayla has multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is a disabling disease of the central nervous system that disrupts the flow of information between the brain and the body. People with this disease suffer from fatigue, numbness of limbs, and muscle spasm. So in this documentary, we see how multiple sclerosis affects Kayla. While she is running a race, her limbs become numb. Her muscles start to have spasms, and she could barely stand up. But the way she could finish every race is that her coach stands at the finish line and has his arms held out so that the minute she finishes the race, she can collapse into his arms. So Kayla runs with everything that she has. She runs even when her body begins to shut down because she knows her coach will catch her before she hits the ground. Jesus is waiting for you at your finish line, and he is ready to catch you before you hit the ground. Even when you have nothing left to give, keep running into the arms of Jesus. If the Old Testament stories of faith don't motivate you, then let Jesus motivate you to finish the race that God has planned for you. And if you run with both intensity and endurance, you will be able to echo what the Apostle Paul said at the end of his life. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Thank you to today's sponsor, Awe and Reverence. They offer a free digital worship music app called Maskill. If you want to find out more, I'll leave some links in the description box below. This concludes our series on the topic of faith. If you want me to cover a certain topic, leave a comment below. Until next time, see you.